Hey, hi everyone. Hi Atul. Atul, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, hi. Yes, I can. Okay, sure. All right. Thank you, Atul. And thanks everyone for joining today. Let me share my screen. Okay. Let me know if you can see my screen. Can you
Yes, we
see?
can.
Okay, great. All right. Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining. And thanks, Atul, for inviting me. So, today we are going to learn a few things about UX writing, some basics like what is UX writing, what is not UX writing. We'll see some examples of how to write a good microcopy and what are the career opportunities in UX writing and how to build a strong portfolio. So you can see it is an intersection between, that is, UX writing is an intersection between design, information architecture, and research. So we'll see how. Before that, I would like to share a story with you all. So a few years back, Google had in hotel search, they had a button called book a room. And they realized that people, the users, were not clicking that button, and they did some research and they found that because this terminology, that is book a room, was quite committal at such a initial stage, so their UX writers changed that term to check availability. So this small change, that is from book a room, they changed to check availability, and this small change helped them to increase 17% of user engagement. So you can see the impact that UX writing holds not only on users but business as well. So this was a short story that I would like to share before we start. Now let's see what is not UX writing before we go into what is UX writing. So creating sales-focused content to attract customers is not UX writing. It is mostly the sales-based content which is done, that is marketing content, and UX writing is not about marketing. It is about making users' life easy when they are using the product, rather than attracting users to the product. Next, it is not adding words in the UI components. Like when designs are ready and then the words are inserted into the boxes, it is not UX writing again. Writing content after the designs are ready is not UX writing, as we discussed, and reviewing only the grammar and sentence framing is again not UX writing. Then, what is UX writing? It is building experiences through words. That's why today UX writing is also called as content design, because we design experiences through strategic and scalable language. So that's why it is also called as content design nowadays. Then UX writing is purpose driven writing. Each word has a purpose, logic behind it. It also acts as a bridge between user and the product or system. Also, as we already discussed, it is co-designing experiences with strategic and scalable language. It also gives a personality to a product by communicating the brand voice and tone. And UX writing is making digital interfaces, that is all the products, easy to use for the users. It satisfies users' needs, answers any questions or doubts, and builds empathy. So, this all is UX writing. Now, let's see the 5 C's of UX writing, which are very important for a UX writer. So, the content that a UX writer writes or crafts need to be clear, which is that means it is easy to understand for all kind of users. It should be concise because this microcopy is inserted into the UI. There is less real estate. So it is very important that we convey large messages in few words. It needs to be constructive. It should serve some purpose. It should solve some users' problems. Next is conversational. It shouldn't sound like a system or a product is talking to the users, but a human is talking. So it needs to have that human tone. It needs to be conversational and interactive. And the last C is consistent. So throughout the product, it's very important that consistent terminologies or consistent tone is followed. Otherwise, if on one page certain terms are used and on another page the terms are different or the tone is different, then the product doesn't get that personality and users don't perceive the product as one single product. So these are 5 important C's of UX writing. Now, what do UX writers exactly do? So the tasks that they perform are like writing content for navigation tips, pop-up help messages, form filling instructions and hints, then error messages, success and failure messages, button text, placeholders, service screen, loading screen messages, titles and taglines, button text. These are all tasks. But the responsibilities that a UX writer holds, first is it needs to educate the team about UX writing, because though UX writing is quite still it is a niche field, I would say, though many companies are having UX writers, but still there are some startups and other companies who don't have UX writers in their teams. So the designers or product managers are writing the content. So when a UX writer, if you join any team as your first UX writer, it also becomes your responsibility to educate the team about UX writing. Like what is UX writing, why you are hired, what are you going to bring to the table uh, for the business, for the product, and for the team. So this is a foremost responsibility of a UX writer. Then user research and competitive analysis. Though there are UX researchers, but UX writer also helps them to design the tasks for the research. Or sometimes in some companies they also note down the user feedback and the competitive analysis as well. Another important responsibility is collaboration with stakeholders, because a UX writer works with product designers, product managers, developers, researchers, and all. So that is another responsibility. Then next is ideation and brainstorming. So when a user flow is designed, uh, the UX writer, UX designer, researcher, they all sit together for ideation and brainstorming on the solution part. Like if this is the problem, what kind of solution we can provide, what kind of user flow we can design on that. So this is one of the responsibilities. Next is creating micro interactions, that is micro copy that we discussed in the tasks part. Then educating users through user guides, tutorials, best practices, and all. So a UX writer also writes content for these pieces. Next is contributing to the user persona and user flow. That is done usually during before ideation and brainstorming. Then another important responsibility is reflecting brand voice and tone, because a UX writer gives a personality to the product through the words that they design. Considering accessibility and inclusivity is also very important when writing any microcopy, because we write usually for global products. Considering localization is another important responsibility. So, writing the content in a way or in such language, avoiding jargons that it can be translated easily. Next is contributing to user testing. So sometimes a UX writer also have to go for A/B testing, because if there is any agreement disagreements related to content, then they also contribute to the user testing. And even if there are no disagreements, when the final content or designs are ready, they are part of the user testing as well, and contributing to the content design system and content style guide. So content style guide is usually for writers by writers, but content design system is used widely within the team, like designers, developers. They also use it at a large level. So contributing to these documents is also an important responsibility of a UX writer. Now, you can see here, this is a very beautiful design with nice colors, placement of icons at the right places and everything. However, a user won't be able to do anything here because there are no words. So you can see design without copy is just a decoration. But when you insert right words and language in it, it guides users to take action. So design plus copy together create the user experience. Now, why UX writing is important? First is to clarify the uncertainties during the product experience. So when users use the product, they may have some doubts. So the content on that product should clarify those doubts. It should make it easy for them to use the product. Then to empathize with users during every step, because through different steps users go through different emotions. Sometimes there is an error message thrown, in that case there is a disappointment. So the content in every phase should empathize with users mindset and their feelings or their emotions, and the UX writers should craft the content in that way. Then to humanize a product, a UX writer gives a human tone to the product so that users feel that they are interacting with a human rather than just a digital product. Then it helps to drive engagement and increase company's bottom line, that is business, which showed you an example of that. Then it is important to follow a user-centric approach, because after all, we are designing the products for users. Then it is important to drive conversions, because when products are easy to use, users are using it at a large level, then it helps to convert those users into loyal customers. And last but not the least is to create a product that is accessible to all kinds of users, from different genders to different age groups. Now, there are some myths about UX writers. Let's burst them and see what are the facts. So, the first one is UX writers spend all day writing. No, they don't spend all of their day in just writing. They do a lot more, which I shared, like what are the responsibilities of a UX writer. So, they do brainstorming, design user flow, do content audit, and much more. Another myth is like fewer words means less time. Many times stakeholders feel that, oh, it's just one line. It will take a few minutes or so. But no, a good and impactful copy takes time. Another myth is UX designers can and should be able to write UX copy, because some companies don't have UX writers in their team. They feel that the UX designer should do that. But a design team needs a dedicated word person, because they are the experts and not UX designers. Another myth is all writers can write UX content. No, there are different kinds of writers. Some can write marketing content, SEO content, social media content. But UX writing is a specialized skill which needs clarity, consistency, and simplicity. And writing simple content is the difficult part. Another myth is we don't need a UX writer until designs are ready. So, this is again a very wrong thing, because you need a UX writer from the beginning. Because when UX writer has all the context about the problem, the solution that we have arrived at, and why we are doing it, the copy and design go together, and it creates best or excellent user experiences. Now, let's see some tips to write a good microcopy. So it is important that you avoid vague or unclear commands. Keep it simple. Like in this example, uh, the button text here for confirm order says acquire now. it is quite difficult to understand by all kinds of users. So we need to keep the content or microcopy as a seventh grade English language. So acquire now rather than acquire now, if we can say buy now, which is very simple to understand by all kinds of users, it is always clear. Next is avoid generic commands like okay, yes, no. So in this case, when the content or the message is about discard unsaved changes, it is good to align the button text with it rather than just saying okay, which might confuse users. Like, what do we mean by okay? Saying discard, it helps them to take action quickly. Avoid double negatives. It again confuses users. For example, here, unsubscribe from newsletter, unsubscribe now. I do not want to unsubscribe. This is a double negative and it creates confusion. So, better to say cancel. So, users here would easily know that if they want to unsubscribe, they can click this button. If they don't want to do anything, just cancel it. Now, avoid excessive politeness. It is considered that saying please and all is very polite, but it doesn't sound human as well because when we interact with people, we don't use please very often for even small things. We use please when it is required. Similarly, in the microcopy, please should be used only when it is required. So, in this case, users have to agree to the privacy policy. There is no other way out. So we don't need to say please here. Just saying agree to privacy policy is enough. Some companies also use branding in the microcopy, which is not a very great thing to do because it is too, it sounds like a show off or too much talking about their brand, which is not required because users know what product they are already using. So it is better to avoid branding in microcopy. Then passive voice should be avoided when writing any kind of UX copy. It is better to use active voice because it should sound conversational. In this case, if you'll see the content here says account will be upgraded once you have clicked confirm. This is a passive voice which doesn't give a very good experience. We can keep it simple by using active voice like click confirm to upgrade account. That is easy, clear, and next is use concise language because there is less real estate on the UI. It is important that we use concise language when crafting or designing the microcopy. For example, here the success message says video has been downloaded successfully. First thing, this is a passive voice, and secondly, too many words are not required. Just saying video downloaded successfully is enough because sometimes this kind of success messages appear for few seconds on a snack bar. So, as few words, it is easier for users to read it and perceive it. Next is use verbs for button commands because button text need to be action oriented because we want users to take action through the buttons. In this case, confirm order just rather than saying yes, yes what. If we say yes confirm, it gives clarity that what will happen after users click on this button. Next important thing to remember is lead with the objective. So if you'll see here, the example is to unlock swipe. What action we want users to take? We want users to swipe. So that should be the first word uh, used in the microcopy because we need to lead by objective. Swipe to unlock makes it clear and we don't have to use punctuation in this case and it is very easy for users to understand that they need to swipe to unlock. And it is very important to consider inclusivity and accessibility. Here are a few examples. So when a user needs to or wants to enter an email address, so if you have a placeholder text which is having so light gray color, this is not accessible for those who have you can say partial visibility issues or something else, or those who are not having their specs nearby when they are entering the email address. So in that case, this will be difficult for users. So avoid this kind of things. Even having it below the field is also not a very great experience because it is too it is getting highlighted a lot. For some users it may not give a good experience. So to be inclusive, it's better to show the example besides the label, and with the right uh, color and font size. Now, what are the career opportunities in UX writing? So the key roles in UX writing that you will find in most of the companies are UI UX writer, who design the clear and concise copy for user interfaces. Then there is content strategists. They plan and execute content across platforms. So they don't themselves write content as such, but they plan it, like what kind of content we should use, what kind of content should be written, or how to strategize that content, what should be the strategy behind it, rational behind it. So they do all that thing. Another important role is content designer. Here, content designer co-design experiences along with the product designer. They not only write the copy, but they are involved, as we already discussed in the responsibilities part. They are involved in many other things while designing the content. Now, the skills required in UX writing are, very first is UX mindset. So, if you want to be a UX writer, or thrive in this role, you have to have the UX mindset all the time. So, because whenever users are buying any product or service, they are not buying those products or services, they are actually buying the experiences. So we will have to always consider this and keep in mind that how we can provide a great experience whenever a user is buying anything, or even if they are reading our product or just exploring our product or just going through the onboarding process. Every single thing should give a better experience. And for that, we need to have a UX mindset. Then, exceptional writing abilities. Why? Because even if you're a good writer, it is not sufficient, because conveying large messages through fewer words is very difficult. So you need to have good vocabulary. At the same time, writing simple English is very difficult again. Next is understanding of UI UX principles, because you're not just designing the content, you are designing experiences, as we talked about, through language. So you need to know what are the UX principles in that case, because you need to follow those while drafting the content. Then another important skill is empathy for user needs, because you are designing content for users and you need to empathize on each step of the flow, and we need to understand their needs. Sometimes we need to understand the needs even when users haven't expressed them, and the content should help them to identify those needs, and through the product we can fulfill their needs. Then attention to detail, uh, because whenever you are drafting a copy, there are many things that come around it. For example, if you have decided on the user flow, you need to identify different use cases, like where we need to throw an error message or success message, notifications, tooltips. So attention to detail is very important in this case. Collaboration skills, because as we discussed, UX writers work closely with UX designers, product managers, developers, researchers, and all. So having good collaboration skills is very important, because many times you need to convince your content decisions to the stakeholders. Sometimes there are disagreements. You have to put your point in a way that nobody is upset, but at the same time you can convince them. So this comes under collaboration skills. Then adaptability to the brand personality, because every product, so the content design is same everywhere, but every product has a different brand personality. And when user, for example, if a user is on an e-commerce platform, they have a different mindset. Uh, so the personality is different. But when a user is on a fintech platform, let's say for send money platform, they are on a different mindset. They are not going to scroll products. They are there just to finish their task, which is sending money. So it is very important for a UX writer to adapt to these different personalities based on the target users. Analytical skills are also important because UX writers need to analyze many things like users, their pain points, their problems, the solutions that we are suggesting. So, analytical skills are again very important. And then, content design system, we already discussed about it. Because content design system, it helps to maintain the consistency of the content throughout the product. Now, the career growth opportunities in UX writing. So, there are entry level positions which are sometimes called a junior or associate UX writer, wherein usually freshers join. There are mid level positions where UI UX writers join who have around 3 to 4 years of experience. Then there are senior level positions, which are content strategist, content designer, content design lead, or content design manager. So it depends on company to company. Sometimes a content designer or a content strategist is also a content design lead, but the uh, designations are different in different companies. Then there are specialist positions like content design system or writing style guide specialists who focus specifically only on establishing content patterns which are used across the product. And then writing the content for different UI components or documenting the writing style guide. Then there are domain or product specialists, which are who are specialized in a specific product or a specific domain, and they draft the content or strategize the content only for those kind of products. Then there are freelancers and who do some consulting as well. Then there are leadership roles like director of content strategy or a head of UX writing, chief content officer. So based on different companies, different designations are you'll be seeing these different designations there. Then there is transition roles in UX writing. So a UX writer, because they work on products right from the, from different flows and all, so they have very good knowledge about the product because they work with the developers, product managers, researchers, and all. And while writing the content, they need to understand the product very well. So, because they have good knowledge about products, they can transition into product managers or product owners if they want. For that, they need to study more about product management and can then get into those roles. If they want, they can also go into UX design or product design. For that, they need to understand. I mean, they already know good UI UX principles and all, but they need to learn certain skills or how to use the design tools and all, and then they can transition to these tools. Also, because UX writers support or help researchers in the research part or user testing part. If they want, they can also transition into user researcher role with the better understanding and experience. Then there is another role which is content governance, which is usually content audit specialist or content governance manager who take care of auditing of the entire product, and then identifying the issues in the content and maintaining the governance of that content. So this comes under content governance. Some UX writers also can transition into these roles. Then there are cross-functional leadership roles. With experience, of course, these people have almost 20, 25 years of experience who can go into head of UX or director of product or chief experience officer, who handle the team of UX designers, writers, and researchers as well. And in the case of director of product, they handle the product managers and developers team as well. Now, how to build a strong UX writing portfolio. First, let's see what makes a strong UX writing portfolio. You need to think beyond words when you are designing your portfolio. So, it should have a problem solution format. Like it should first mention what is the project all about, like overview of the project, and what was the problem, who are the target audiences, what challenges you faced while working on the project, how did you solve it with the content, and what impact did it create, like impact on users and impact on the business. Then show the process, like the wireframes or the iterations that you did on the content after review, feedback, and all, and how was the feedback loop. Showing this process, then your role in the team and in the decision making, how you collaborated with other stakeholders, and before and after versions if possible. Like before, you can show some wireframes which are before the content was like this, and then you changed it, and how it helped to make a better design as well, and design a better experience. Then highlighting collaboration, because as I said, you collaborate with many stakeholders like product managers, designers, engineers, and researchers and all. So it is very important that you highlight how you collaborated with these people, and how it helped to shape your content for that specific project, and how your content fits into the product strategy. Sorry. Next is, um, don't forget to mention the outcomes or the result of your content or the project that you worked on. Like why your content worked, what was the logic behind the content, the rationale behind the content, and how this content has impacted the users, the business as a whole. If you have statistics, metrics to show, it is always better to have add those in the portfolio or in the case study. Now, I would share a few tips to build a portfolio. So, if you don't have a full time role or you are just a fresher, no problem. Here is what you can do. So, first is work on some personal projects, that is, whichever apps you are using, and you find or identify any problems in the content or in the flow. You can redesign those app flow and redesign the content for that. Write error messages, tool tips, work on the onboarding journey, or if you think that in notifications or success failure messages are required, whatever you feel, you can add to that flow and create a case study out of that. Then you can take up UX challenges, take a public design and improve the microcopy, or add rationale or logic for your content decisions, that why you would change this content and how it will improve that product. Then you can contribute to open source or non-profit organizations. You can volunteer there. There are some non-profit organizations who have their apps and they need volunteers to work on the content. So you can work as a freelancer or just volunteer there. Ask for the feedback from the community, from other UX writers, and even after working on these products, try to get testimonials about your work, and you can include all this in your portfolio or for that case study. And don't forget to have a simple storytelling for the case study format, which is problem, process, solution, and impact. So these four are the most important thing to showcase in your case study. And it is good to keep it visual rather than just adding content or making it text heavy. So if you have any wireframes or any designs before and after screens, it is always easier, because when you are explaining your case study, if you can showcase that in the design, it becomes easier for the interviewers to understand or to pursue the project that you have worked on. So yeah, I think that's it from my side. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Hey Supriya, hi. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah,
Hi, Chintan.
I have a question, Supriya. As you mentioned, portfolio, as we know, for any roles on UX writer or content strategist, the first task more than the resume is the portfolio.
Mhm.
So what would be some tips that you can give for making like a noteworthy portfolio? Like, of course, you mentioned that go ahead and create it in the problem and solution sort of a model. But is there like anything specific that you feel that the recruiters are looking for in terms of in the portfolio that would really help, I think, all of us build better ones?
Yeah. Thanks for the question. So, mostly what they look for is, I would say, they want to see how variety of work you have done. So, it is better to add projects from different domains if you are an experienced UX writer, even if you are not experienced one. And if you have any case studies, as I mentioned, like redesigned some other applications, try to add case studies from different domains, because usually if you have worked only in one or two domains, it shows or it gives an impression about you that you can write only a certain kind of content, or you can understand only certain kind of users. So adding case studies from different domains, it works. And of course, following the right format, as we already discussed, and keep your portfolio and resume separate, because I have seen some UX writers have their resume and portfolio combined because they don't have many case studies or something like that. But it is better to have both these things separate. Just adding your roles and responsibilities in the resume and keeping the case studies in the portfolio. So yeah,
Thanks a lot, that was helpful.
yeah. Anything else? Anybody has any more questions? Okay, I can see a few in the chats. Yeah, somebody asked, will this UI UX domain affected by AI? Yes, it will be affected, but not in a negative way, I would say. AI is going to help UI UX domain and all the professionals, because it is making our lives easy. Of course, it will reduce, I say, manpower that is required currently in the companies. But if you understand how to use AI, it will help you to thrive, because tomorrow in future, maybe this kind of designations will be no longer available, like UI UX writer, content designer. Maybe you will be writing or designing high quality content for AI models like chat GPT or something. So you need to upgrade your skills in a way that you will be writing content not only for users anymore, but also for intelligent systems, like how to build prompts, or how to um, answer questions when users ask to the chat GPT or any AI model. So in that way, it will change, but it apply in that way. Like you will have different roles. You will be training AI rather than content for the UX. Having said that, it doesn't mean that UX writers or UX will be no longer be there, or will be reduced to at a large level, because after all, AI cannot summon. And if you will try to design content using AI, will find that it has certain tone and its ability is limited. But if in few days, you can't design so UX writers, because even if this are or people are using AI for content, we have to train it for that. Okay, the next one is, I have a question. Okay, lovely, Shukta. So you have 7 years of professional experience in other domains. Would it be good to start from scratch? Okay. If you have interest in this, I would say it would be from scratch. I know some people who have worked in domains like engineering, developers have seen turning into UX profits, but you shouldn't do it just because UX offers good salary packages. Many people want to come to the field just for that, because then it will be difficult for you to survive this market, because those who really like it, love it, and enjoy solving users' problems. I say if you love all this, then yeah, you start from scratch. About salary packages, it again depends. So, for example, if you're asking about website, if you start with startups, salary packages range from 7 to 10 lakhs, and it's large organizations like Google, Microsoft, or something like that, and it starts from 12 to 15, 15 lakhs per annum. Okay. Next is case studies of UX designing work for UX writers. Not really, not completely. You can make those, but UX design is mostly about designing for UI, but UX writing is mostly outwards. So if UX design has good microcopy, it might work. But if you have experience in UX writing and feel this copy is good or it might work for users, it might not. So it depends on your skills as well and your line towards UX writing. Okay, scam and all. Yes, Ganesh, I heard of this that scams happen, but you shouldn't like this money after a scam. No company does that. So how can I get internship? As we already discussed, you can internship in different ways that you can approach or volunteer for some organizations like non-profit organizations. There are some spiritual organizations who have their apps and all, and they need people to volunteer. So you can do that. If not that, you can approach freelancers or designers who are, and you can ask them to assist. This is how you can start, and then once you get experience, you can apply for it. Applied my internship with that. Okay. I need a position as ex writer in English. Which English language should I look for? Sorry, Ma, I didn't get your question. Which English language level? Would you mind? You can explain. Okay. Mad, if you can't explain, I will take the next question. Till then, I'm Sai Tushar. I'm just in the before I framing. I have to. Yeah. So you expert and you design together. To quickly do this, you have companies like when a content requirement comes up or design requirement comes up, a product manager, UX designer, and UX writers together to understand the requirement and get their doubts clarified from the product manager or developers, whichever kind of product they are working on. And then they try to understand why we are doing this for the problems and why we think that this is a solution. And then UX designer and UX writers together to find the solutions and then agree on one and they share it with the stakeholders that this is the best possible solution that we feel. And then UX designer work on it and same time UX writers work on the art. So that they go hand in hand and it helps them to get the feedback at the initial level from the stakeholders and from the leadership team. Because if the designs are ready and then it's completed, then it becomes difficult because if your writers suggest different changes, then the design which is already approved, it has to be changed. And these two usually they go together. How to
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Priya.
no problem. How to keep updated skill of UX? How are you investing time to learn sparking? How to keep updated because you can keep what's going on in the articles, and also you can follow some YouTube channels where you can learn about UX design, exciting about. I also do along with this. I look for some different UX writing courses, like maybe on Udemy or Coursera, where you can find small courses, but which should upgrade skills. For example, recent idea course on UX writing patterns. So it's but how UX, how UX can write content for such patterns, and is it ethical for all of that? I'll learn. So different ways are there to learn UX even working. How's the work of Microsoft? Yeah, work culture is of course good. Microsoft, there are few times when we have a lot of work. Sometimes we have there is work depending on the situation and the team that you're working. I work with Jana team, so due to the differences, that there are festival timings there, then have less work here. But apart from that, work culture, it is great. I GPT to write. Like I pair GPT, what the brand is, what's example, in a week it's there. Is this the right process? Yeah, you can do that because what I would just use ChatGPT or brainstorm, like ChatGPT as an example and brainstorm or idea a bit like scenario. And I think this is the possible solution for and this is the original thinking. What do you think? Do you have any other suggestions? So writing using prompts is important based on the goal that you pursue. Sometimes you still think the sense. For example, there's an audit done of that, and from that, some microcopies are quite large and very complex. In that case, you can use ChatGPT to simplify it or make sense. And based on brand voice, and certain that brand, there are preferreds based on the cycle and according to that. Uh, I have a zero of brand design. How can I say? I think I already answered the question that it's good at having language that various ways learning exciting. You can start with certain YouTube channels who would tell you about what is your writing, how to learn it, what in that case you can also be part of companies. And your you can take some basic courses on UX right if you want to learn. Learn from your fellow, if you're looking, you can try to access them to your team. So I think that you can learn UX. Right? How can I use UX writer? I think I already answered this question. If you know others, please let me know. Hi, having calling how tech like this. So tech is usually into mention. So what I do is think about how in technical writing, when you write the content, you're writing it mostly for the developers or the tech people. So when you write content or even like documents, why you're writing those documents to make it easier for the users or developers, technical professionals, understand how. Maybe I know what kind of technical documentation you write, but there are sometimes API documentation. There are how to use a product kind of documentation. So anyway, you are thinking about your end users when you are writing. So nothing other than that, you're doing anything different when you are doing user design. So for transition, I'd say, as I mentioned, try to resign on applications or digital essays. Documenting, for example, you're on AI documents of products, you can explore that same route and redesign content or redesign the site. I mean, the content of that website, or like these documents or these documents are displayed wherever those links are present. You can redesign those. In that way, we can create a case in your portfolio, and this is then you transition to Zoho because it is very easy for already an experienced writer to transition to UX, right? Because have writing experience and if your tech writing experience was to enhance the user experience. Yes, what must be included in the copy? I think we already discussed what to do microcopy. There are updates, applications, success, failure messages. There are many things that we discuss about the tasks of a UX writer. All that is copy. So anything that you see on a digital interface, it is designed by a UX writer. All that is copy. If it, okay. Person which is from UX designer, which things are just from a UX designer researcher. Okay, so UX designer is an expert in usually UI design or solution part, but a UX researcher, they try to understand users, their problems, they talk to users, they say their feedback on products or the flows. So you need to think rather than how you can. As a UX designer, you should think about how you can make the product easier through your design. But as a UX researcher, you shift your mindset. That is understand users deeply, and you need to know user research methods and researchers. And as a UX designer, you can already start doing that. If you're already a UX designer, you can help your user researchers to learn different UX research methods that they are using, how they're holding the interviews with the users, what kind of questions they're asking, how they're designing the task for the user. So through this, you can learn how to do research in deep and then transition. Writers, it's often, yes, they do use A/B testing, but I won't say often, but sometimes when there are disagreements with stakeholders, or sometimes we feel that there are two kind of copies, like but we don't know which is best fit or which users perceive rightly or solve problems. Like we do A/B testing. Okay, initial is B. Is this going to be a challenge to get it as really? Actually, as I mentioned, your writing is about writing English in simple language. So if you can write English in simple language, you can be excited. And it feels very easy. This is the most difficult part because using flowers or glorifying you can rewrite those articles, not expressing, you're explaining, describing things. I can imagine that it is, but when you are explaining something in few words in the language, it is it's a little different, but not in. I heard that of something which is animal that way. So not only you can use this they are happening everywhere. Like even the managers, developers are getting, and it is not only due to AI using. If you learn how to AI and in a way that can help you to focus on complex tasks and just let your jobs that you need to focus more. So if you know how to use AI easy, I don't think the jobs will. How would you? So yeah, as I mentioned, though it is also high, the manpower will use, but if you know how to use AI, there are many opportunities for you. How can you use the help of basic AI tool? So there are many AI tools. I mean, how to using it depends. Like for example, if you are a designer, you need to learn different design tools. I mean, which will help you to which will help you to reduce your time designing your products. Or there are some wireframing tools. AI tools, and you learn all those. And if you are studying different AI models, but in future, as I said, you are going to train AI models for generating high quality. You need to start doing that now, like write content for both human and machines. What is the Fresh how this art? I think we already discussed how Fresh and art. We use at Microsoft Design and for UI setting use Figma. Of course, and there are all Microsoft that we use internally. But for design and UI setting is Figma. How can we get reply for 6 months at Microsoft? Okay, so at Microsoft, usually the thing that I'm working in, I have not seen any freshers joining there, but yeah, there are other teams like in India or USA where internships happen. Whenever those are open, in that case, you can apply for those and try a lot. I know this business since I tried to study, I don't know how AI is utilized at Microsoft in UX design. So Microsoft in UX design, we are not utilizing AI at a large level, I would say, because still AI is quite naive today. You can't use level. So we are trying to use tools later for UX right and our Microsoft Copilot. But I won't say that it is at that level because it is still in the very initial stage. What always passing a message through the AI elements, just a clear message. A simple and clear message always works. All right. Here's what the dynamics videos have got. The most accurate. Interaction, how do you say this was something like having function? I think we talked about how these two roles complement each other and which role you feel giving more strategic importance. I won't say there is one role over the other because both roles play an important part in designing experiences, UX design and UX writing. So I can't say that one is gaining more strategic importance. Both are equally important. It's just that UX writing is still quite new. It's a niche field. So in the market, there are few UX sites. But there are many UX designers because it has been a booming field. So there are many people going for UX design. So that is only the change I would say. But apart from that, both are important. How to stand out in upcoming trends in UX design? I get what you mean because standing out upcoming trends in UX design, it depends on the work that you do. Try to handle more complex projects if you're already working. If you're not working, then if you're a fresher, try reading content about design. Complex